Hi my dear friends, and welcome back to another video. So we just got episode 4 of the Kenobi series, and it's time to break it down. Now while there was a lot of really cool stuff, there is not as much to break down this week. Apart from that scene, you know the one I'm talking about, and a couple of Easter eggs here and there. Now I'm going to be doing things a little bit differently this time. I'm going to save my review and honest thoughts for the end of the video. Usually I'd start things off with my initial reaction, but I want to keep that separate from the breakdown, so no more jibber jabber, let's dive straight into it. So our episode begins with Obi-Wan healing in a Bacta tank on the way to Jabiim, and I love the way they contrasted his healing with that of Darth Vader. That parallel was so chilling, so intense. Now, many of us were hoping for some flashbacks during these sequences, and they would have made a lot of sense. Unfortunately, they never came, and it sort of feels like a wasted opportunity, but hey, we've got 2 episodes to go, I'm sure we're still gonna get some. So on Jabiim, we meet Roken, O'Shea Jackson Jr.'s character, who is a rebel partisan that making Star Wars say is part of Saw Gerrera's group. And just like Saw, he's got a very personal reason for joining the early rebellion. The story Roken tells about losing his wife parallels Saw Gerrera's grief, losing his sister Steela, and in a massive way, they both use that pain as fuel and as a muse to use more aggressive tactics against the Empire. So a plan is devised where Obi-Wan and undercover Tala are going to infiltrate Fortress Inquisitorious on the moon of Nur, where Leia's being held hostage. Now I'm not going to dwell on the interrogation scenes, but the cat is really out of the bag regarding the name situation. Leia has already heard Ben being called Obi-Wan by Hajar and Tala Darith, but there was always an argument to be made that she didn't hear them say it, or that she didn't remember by the time of A New Hope. Well, that doesn't matter anymore because Reva literally calls him Obi-Wan to her face. Now, every time I brought this up in the past, some folks do not consider this to be a retcon or even a big deal, but opinion is certainly divided on that, and it just seems unnecessary that Lucasfilm went out of their way to cause this conundrum in this series. There were certainly ways around it. Leia will not give up any information about Obi-Wan's location, so she is sent to be tortured in a very familiar chamber that we've seen in Jedi Fallen Order. Obi-Wan slowly regains his Force powers, and we're starting to see him reconnect to the Force, and all of a sudden, he stumbles across a tomb, where Jedi who were hunted down and killed after Order 66 are held in a sort of sap, Jurassic Park style. Now let's break this scene down and identify some of the key Jedi. We're gonna start with the one that's gotten fans talking the most, Tera Sinube. As Clone Wars fans, I think our hearts broke collectively. It was both so amazing to see him in live action, but also tragic that he did die. This calm, level-headed Kosian Jedi Master was the marshal of a Jedi outpost on Dera long before the prequels during the High Republic. During the Clone Wars, we see him help Ahsoka recover her lightsaber, which was stolen by a thief called Banamu. Jedi Master Sinube was best known for his prowess in training younglings at the Jedi Temple on Coruscant, and until today, it was unknown what happened to him, and we didn't have any confirmation if he died or survived the Great Jedi Purge. Well, even though he likely survived the initial onslaught, he was tracked down and killed, and here on Fortress Inquisitorious, his corpse is entombed. Very sad indeed. So what other Jedi are in these tombs? Well, on the right of this shot, we see an Ongri Jedi, who I suspect is Coleman Kaj. This is not the first time we're speaking about him on the channel, because he was included in my video of all the Jedi who survived Order 66. In the canon Vader comics, issue 19 to be more specific, they confirm he did initially survive, escaping the carnage of the temple. His name was later included on a holographic list compiled by the Inquisitors of all known confirmed survivors, and by the looks of things, to everyone's dismay, his body is now entombed on Nur. Another Jedi who looks familiar might be Quinlan Vos. It's not confirmed though, and this Jedi only vaguely resembles him. We heard Master Vos being mentioned in episode 3, and if this Jedi is Quinlan, then his work with Tala Darith helping Force-sensitive children has come to an end. But as I say, my dear Meglorians, we don't know for sure, and some fans think they've spotted Mace Windu. But don't worry guys, it's not Mace. This fella still has his right hand, and before Mace went out the window, if you pardon the pun, he had his right hand twatted off by Anakin, so this guy just looks like him, but it's not Mace Windu, and even if it was, that would be such a kick in the nips for all of us who are on the Mace Lives train, and given that Samuel L. Jackson recently spoke to Bryce Dallas Howard about including Mace Windu in The Mandalorian or the Book of Boba Fett, this would shoot down any possibility. But let's calm down, hashtag Mace Lives, and this is not him. So this so-called tomb on the fortress is not really a tomb at all. If you notice, they're being kept in a sort of sap, a preserving sap similar to Amber from Jurassic Park, and this has probably got something to do with Palpatine's contingency plan. We're seeing it across many projects, Jedi Survivor, The Mandalorian Season 2, The Bad Batch and so on, and now it's in Kenobi as well. He's preserving the DNA of these highly Force-sensitive Jedi to use their M count for future cloning. So it all kind of ties together. Another awesome callback in this episode, which I really did not expect, were the T-47 airspeeders. We're seeing the earliest parts of the rebellion, and by the way, rest in peace Wade, we don't even know who you are. So obviously, we see the T-47 airspeeders for the first time in The Empire Strikes Back. That's because later in the timeline from where we are now in the Kenobi show, the Rebel Alliance would modify and convert these airspeeders into snowspeeders. Another Easter egg I want to mention is an astromech droid that looks very similar to R2-Q5. There's no way to confirm it's him, and admittedly some of the coloration is a little bit different. Okay, so now I want to give you my honest review. I know I've not broken down every single scene as I usually do, I just wanted to highlight some of the big moments in this episode, and there weren't as many as usual, but as I say, on with the review. I'll start with the positives. The action was generally really great. I love seeing Obi-Wan back in action with his lightsaber, being an absolute badass, and taking on stormtroopers. Generally speaking, Ewan McGregor makes this show what it is. His acting has been phenomenal, and the same goes for young Leia, Vivian Lyra Blair. I also love the tie-ins and references to other Star Wars media, like the Clone Wars, Republic comics, and Jedi Fallen Order. At one stage, Tala name drops Florum, which is a planet Hondo Naka was based on during the Clone Wars. We briefly got to see Jabiim in live action, we got a more intimate look at Fortress Inquisitorious, and we even got to see Obi-Wan swim again, just like he did in The Phantom Menace. Not to mention that awesome ending where Vader rages at the third sister before then realizing she put a tracker on Lola. Those for me were the major highlights of the episode. And generally speaking, despite my criticisms which I'm about to give, this episode was not that bad, but it wasn't the best, especially compared to the first three. So I'm going to give this episode a 7 out of 10. My biggest frustration is how much time was wasted in the episode, and the pacing considering there are just 2 episodes to go. If this was an 8 episode series, or maybe even a 10 episode series, I could see how they could afford to have an episode like this in the middle. But it's kind of sad we haven't had any more build up in the dynamic between Vader and Obi-Wan. I think flashbacks would have been perfectly placed here, or at least a more intricate force connection between the two characters outside the back-to-tank scene. You know, maybe just Vader haunting and toying with Obi-Wan's mind, or something like that, but there was no such interaction, and maybe it's deliberate. We still have 2 episodes to go. I don't want to be too critical at this stage, but hopefully they do maximize the use of them. Obviously we are going to see a second duel between the 2 characters, but I want to see more of their psyche, Obi-Wan and Vader. The Reva and Leia scenes were fine, but in my opinion, my personal opinion, they did drag for quite a bit. So as I say guys, this one gets a 7 out of 10 for me. I'm still really excited for the last 2. I want to see more of Obi-Wan's character development, which admittedly was pretty decent in this episode. So let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Did you enjoy this episode? Did you not? Whatever your opinion, please share it in the comments. I read every single one. If you enjoyed my breakdown and review, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up. Why not subscribe to the channel for more? And as I've said before guys, tomorrow I'm speaking with Wikipedia, and that stream is going to be over on Patreon. So if you want access to that stream and others not found here on YouTube, then click the link down below. But until the next one, my dear friends, may the Force be with you always. I'm Star Wars Meg. Have a good one.